Hey everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk. I'm your host John, and today on the channel I wanted to do some new movie reviews for you guys, and actually one docu-series for you guys as well. Haven't done a new movie review in quite some time, and I'll be honest with you guys, I was kind of missing doing these. This kind of really shifted to a physical media first channel, but I still go to the movies every single week, and going to the movies is really my church. That's where I'm really at my most peaceful, is being there and not having to worry about what's going on in the outside world for a little while. And I just have always absolutely enjoyed doing that, even though I felt like new films, for the most part, don't even compare to what older films used to be. I don't want to sound like that grouchy old man, like, get off my lawn kind of thing. But unfortunately, I do feel like that for the most part. But like I've said in the past, there are some great gems that come out every now and again, and I like to bring them up here on the channel for you guys to check out. And I also still go to the movies and see all the new superhero films, the new Marvel, the new DC film. I still like to check those out, even though they usually don't meet my expectations and for the most part have let me down. But I still go there every week and see a new movie in theaters. And I decide, you know what, maybe I'll do like a review roundup. We'll talk about a few films at once. And if this works out, maybe I'll do more of these in the future. It all really comes down to, what do you guys think? Do you guys enjoy these new movie reviews? If you don't, I won't do them. But I do like to do them for me personally every now and again. It's just something fun for me. Originally, when I started this channel, I wanted to be a film critic, a proper film critic first. But, things change. You got to follow the patterns of what works. And for the most part, you guys like my 4K Blu-ray and film reviews first. And then all the other stuff kind of comes second. But I still like to do these kinds of movie reviews, and you know what? That's what we're here to do today, and let's just dive right into it. We're going to talk about Fantastic Four: The First Steps. This is the latest film from the MCU, and it's not like a reboot, but the MCU has definitely been in a downturn, especially for me personally, since the end of Avengers Endgame. Really, when they started doing the Marvel Cinematic Universe shows on Disney+, and they just, they overcrowded the market. It just became too much, too fast. Even Kevin Feige has come out and said that they were focusing more on quantity over quality, and this is like the first one. Thunderbolts came out earlier this year, and that was kind of like, people liked it, but it wasn't on everybody's radar. People were still kind of feeling that superhero fatigue, but the Fantastic Four had so much promise. It's going to be directed by Matt Shakman, who directed a lot of the WandaVision series, so he knows the MCU, and WandaVision, I felt like, is still the best MCU show. So it made sense that he would shift over to doing this, and it stars Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, Ebon Moss-Baccarat, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, and Joseph Quinn as the rest of the Fantastic Four. This takes place on Earth 828. I am not sure where the rest of the MCU takes place. I'm like pretty out of the loop on that. So this takes place on Earth 828. It's a very contained story. This is in the universe in the 1960s, where the Fantastic Four have already been the Fantastic Four for 4 years. Very similar to the new Superman movie, where we don't get the origin story in the regular linear way. There are already superheroes where we pick up our stories, but in Fantastic Four, they at least give us like flashbacks through a newscast about everything that had happened. They're kind of going into this hoping that you already know the origin story of the Fantastic Four. This is our third film version of the Fantastic Four in 20 years now, so they're kind of hoping you know the origin story for the most part. And it takes place in the 1960s, in a different version of the 1960s, like a futuristic kind of version of the 1960s, where the Fantastic Four protect Earth, and they're pretty damn good at it. The Earth loves them. Everything is going pretty damn swell. Sue Storm, she just found out as we open this movie that she is pregnant. Everything is great, but then unfortunately the Silver Surfer, played by Julia Garner, shows up in this film, and she warns him, hey, Earth's it's been picked for extinction. Galactus, he's coming up right behind me, so say your goodbyes, hang out with your family, do what you gotta do, but it's over, and there's really nothing you can do about it. But of course, this is a planet where the Fantastic Four live, and they're not just going to take this line down. So this movie is about how are the Fantastic Four going to defeat Galactus. And overall, it was a very good film. I wouldn't say this was a great superhero film. I've seen like everyone saying that this is the greatest MCU film since Endgame. I actually still think that might be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, but this was a very good, very contained, very focused story, really simplifying it. You don't have to watch other stuff before you see this movie. Of course, there is still stuff in there, especially at the very end with the post-credit scenes, that's gonna set stuff up, but you can really just go into this movie blind and still enjoy it. Pedro Pascal, I know he's getting watered down for a lot of people because he's just in everything right now. TV, movies, movies. This is like his third movie in 6 weeks, so he might be, for a lot of people, they might be just wearing them down a little bit too much to where they're like, I'm getting sick of seeing him. But for me, that's not the case at all. I still really am enjoying Pedro Pascal. He works in so many different roles. He's always great. It's amazing. He's like a chameleon. Like, you still know it's Pedro Pascal, but he could fall into roles, and he's the perfect Mr. Fantastic, in my opinion. The best they have gotten so far. Everybody is the best so far. Even though Fanforstic, that one was an atrocious mess. It felt like the casting was really good, but they got it perfect in this movie. Very similar to Superman. If you can, there might be some flaws throughout the rest of the film, but it still got the casting right. And it does suffer from a lot of superhero film tropes. We know exactly how this film is going to go. There's nothing that's really going to surprise us in here, unfortunately. But the CGI, which I have complained a lot about in the past, is actually very good in this movie. The world looks great. The production design is amazing. All of that stuff, it feels like Marvel actually took a step and actually showed some care when it came to that. The way that this movie is presented to us is the best part. It looks stunning. The acting is great. I just wish that the story and plot were a little bit more interesting, but they really did take the safe route. There is nothing that's new in here. They didn't really tread any new ground. The villain is your classic Marvel villain. I actually think that the Silver Surfer, that one is actually a little bit more complex, and I appreciated that. It's more of a tragic figure than your regular old-fashioned supervillain. Can't say the same about Galactus, but I still think a lot of people are going to enjoy Fantastic Four. It's going to be a good trip to the movies. It's a good summer blockbuster. It's a good comic book film. Just don't expect this to be that world-changing Marvel event that some people are hyping it up to be. I don't believe it's that. I just think it's a really good summer blockbuster and a really good superhero film that you can enjoy this summer. If I was going to give it a score of 1 to 10, I'll give Fantastic Four a pretty solid 7.5 out of 10. And the next film I want to talk about is the latest film from Ari Aster. This is his fourth film. This film is called Eddington. It again stars Joaquin Phoenix, who starred in Ari Aster's last film, Beau is Afraid. Well, he's back for this film. And of course, Pedro Pascal is in this film, as well as Ted Garcia. This time he's playing a mayor incumbent, and then Joaquin Phoenix is playing the sheriff of this town, Eddington, in New Mexico, by the way, which I believe is where Ari Aster is from. It takes place a few years ago in 2020. It's dealing with the COVID virus. We're early in the pandemic. It's just broke out. The mask mandate just came into play. And if you know anything about United States politics, that is a big part of this film. And of course, because of that, that means that this film is going to be very divisive. But I actually thought, for the most part, when it comes to the movie's politics, it's taking shots at everybody. It's being very, very fair. Of course, that means that you also might turn off everybody. And when it comes to Ari Aster's films already, I feel like he's a lot like other auteurs, where you're either on board with him or you're not. If you're not into Ari Aster's films, like I've said, Hereditary is the best film to come out in the last 10 to 15 years. That's a 10 out of 10 5-star masterpiece, but that's not a film for everybody. And of course, it's also a horror film dealing with cults, which is something that does pop up in this film as well. It pops up in pretty much every Ari Aster film. Midsommar was his follow-up. That movie didn't land as much for me as Hereditary did. That one I've only actually seen once so far. Beau is Afraid. That is one of the weirdest films that I've ever seen, but again, that's a classic blank check film. Ari Aster, at this point, he was beloved by so many people that he got to make the movie that he wanted to make, and that movie is Beau is Afraid. And if you've seen that movie, it really is just insane. It's amazing that this movie comes out of Ari Aster's mind, dealing with so many different subjects, so many different themes, main themes though being like depression and anxiety, and like taking that to an almost literal sense. And then, he makes this movie, Eddington, which is basically an Ari Aster version of a Western. And again, dealing with the COVID virus, that's something that it's really ballsy to do when you're already a director who is so divisive as it is. So you can only split the atom so much. But this movie is by far one of the best films of 2025. It's my second favorite film of the year, only behind Sinners. Past 28 years later is number 2 on the list, and there's a good chance this makes it to number 1. This is Ari Aster's best film since Hereditary. It doesn't pass Hereditary yet, but of course this does check a lot of boxes for me, because this is a neo-western as well. Stars so many great actors in smaller roles like Emma Stone and Austin Butler. Taking movie stars and putting them in just like smaller roles, because this still is Joaquin Phoenix's film at heart. He is our protagonist. He is who we're going to be following around. Even when you don't want to follow him around anymore, that's the guy we're going to be with. Ted Garcia, played by Pedro Pascal, on the other side. They are the two people who are the most at conflict. They They are two people representing the two sides, but there is so many other characters in this film. It's also very funny. This is an extremely dark comedy, which some people are definitely not going to laugh at this movie. Like I said, this is the kind of movie that isn't going to be for everybody, but if you like Ari Aster films, and, you know, I get that people aren't going to want to revisit the pandemic yet, but I do think that if you're somebody who is into Ari Aster films, you will still appreciate it, appreciate what he's going for. Like other great Ari Aster films, it just goes balls to the wall once we hit that third act. It is insane, and insane in the best way possible. It looks great. The score is great. It checks so many different boxes for me, and I'm sure it's going to check a lot of different boxes for other people. But of course, like I said, unless you're into Ari Aster, this is going to work for you. It's very similar to like Wes Anderson's The Venetian Scheme. If you're somebody who isn't behind what Wes Anderson is doing, you're not going to like that film. If you're not somebody who's behind what Ari Aster's style is, you're probably not going to like this film either. But if you do like Ari Aster's films and you want to see him tackle a different genre like the Western, I think you're absolutely going to love this film. And if I was going to give this film a score of 1 to 10, I'm going to give this one a very high grade of 9.5 out of 10. And the third film we're going to talk about today is Happy Gilmore 2. I'm somebody who grew up in the 1990s, has always loved Adam Sandler. My wife is also a huge Adam Sandler fan, so when this got announced, we couldn't have been more thrilled. Now, of course, like a lot of people, we were skeptical. Adam Sandler is very hit or miss, more miss than hit lately. But you still get some enjoyment out of his films, like Hubie Halloween, I thought is a great one. You're So Not Going to My Bar Mitzvah was a really fun one as well. The murder mystery movies are enjoyable, but those movies are always one and done. Never hitting the levels of the classics that he kind of came out of the gate with. Like, the reason why his production company is called Happy Madison Productions is because of Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison. Both those movies were huge hits in the mid-1990s. If you grew up in the 90s, you love Adam Sandler. You're usually on board with his sense of humor. Not everybody is, but if you are, you absolutely love those movies. Big Daddy, The Wedding Singer, 50 First Dates. But, you know, a lot of people have said that he's gotten lazy doing the Netflix films, working with his family, working with his buddies, and the quality of the film doesn't really add up to that. And that's entirely true. But if you were expecting Happy Gilmore 2 to be on the same level as Billy Madison or Happy Gilmore or even The Wedding Singer, I think you set your expectations a little bit too high. Because if you were expecting that, I can see exactly why you would be incredibly let down by Happy Gilmore 2. Because for the most part, it's a little bit mean-spirited. I didn't expect Happy Gilmore 2 to go the Rocky 5 route in the sense that Happy Gilmore is out of money. That's it. It's done. It's gone. Very different reason than Rocky 5. Rocky 5, Paulie was making some bad investments. Why Rocky would trust Paulie is beyond me, but that's why he's poor. In this movie, unfortunately, he gets sued and loses all his money, mainly because he's an alcoholic at this point, because a main character from the first film has tragically passed away, and this has just sent him into an incredible spiral, so he's just making dumb decisions. He makes a dumb decision that I don't think he should have been sued for anyway, but that's how he ends up losing all of his money. You know, he's got 5 kids at this point, so, you know, things are really going down for him. But it's just strange to me, like in Rocky 5 and in this film, how nobody is willing to help out this guy who's a huge celebrity. It's pointed out to us that Happy Gilmore won the tour championship 6 times. I mean, that's more than like Tiger Woods winning championships, so I feel like somebody would have helped him out. And plus, Tiger Woods is still rich anyway, regardless, right? You know, the logic in there doesn't really make a lot of sense. But this is Happy Gilmore 2. Was it going to make a lot of sense? You know, we had to stretch as it was to make a plot for this movie work. And you're really not there for the plot. You're there for the nostalgia. You're there for the cameos that pop up in this movie. This feels more like the movies he's been making recently for Netflix over the last, I wouldn't say, 10 years. It's more in line with that. It doesn't feel tonally like a true Happy Gilmore sequel. But in saying all that, that doesn't necessarily make it a bad film. This is definitely one you gather people up, you sit there with your significant other, and you have a good time. You laugh at the jokes, you laugh at the throwbacks, you laugh at the stupidity. You're like, I can't believe that person's in this movie. I can't believe that person's in this movie. It's just seeing all of these people pop up. There's a lot of great gags in this movie. I'm going to spoil actually one of the cameos because this guy surprised the hell out of me and was one of the best parts of this movie, and that's Bad Bunny. And I've really liked Bad Bunny. I'm not a fan of his music. His music doesn't fit with me at all, but this guy popped up in WWE and main evented Backlash with Damian Priest a couple years ago. Then he's in this movie, not afraid to make a fool of himself, put his ego aside, and then on top of that, he's a pretty decent comedy actor. Bad Bunny, man, I'm on board with whatever the hell he's doing. That's great. I love seeing him in this movie. All the other cameos, they're all hit or miss. Some are funny, some aren't. Chris McDonald pops up again from the original one as Shooter McGavin. We all knew that based on the trailer. He's great as well, but this is definitely still Adam Sandler's vehicle. and for the most part, it hits for me. Hitting all the right nostalgic chords. It's not going to work for everybody, but I also feel like people are being a little too hard on this movie. It's Happy Gilmore 2. It's not supposed to be overanalyzed like this. It's just, a Netflix comedy. It's nothing more than that, and it's not trying to be anything more than that. So if your expectations are that this is going to be a future comedy classic that you can revisit over and over again like Happy Gilmore, unfortunately, it is not that kind of film. So tape your expectations, try and enjoy it, and if you can, I think this one is still kind of worth it. If I was going to give this one a score of 1 to 10, I'll give Happy Gilmore 2 a 6.5 out of 10. And the last one I want to talk about today is Billy Joel and So It Goes, which you can watch right now on HBO Max. This was a 2-part series, came out a week apart, I believe. I wasn't even aware of that, but I watched it on the Thursday before the second part came out, and I absolutely loved it. Now, Billy Joel, this is somebody who's always fascinated me. Billy Joel is a proud Long Islander. He isn't the most famous person to be born on Long Island, but he's probably the most famous Long Islander, if that makes sense. He's somebody who still lives on Long Island. A lot of his music is into the Long Island mold. Like, if you know what he is, he's a lot like other Long Islanders. He's just one of us. So, of course, this is one that I was really excited to check out. One that my dad checked out. Just so many people on Long Island checked out. Another thing you might not realize about Billy Joel is not every Long Islander likes Billy Joel. You might think, like, because he's one of us, every Long Islander likes him. No, that's not always the case. Some people think he's an egotistical maniac. Some people have actually had run-ins with him. So it's a whole thing if you're actually from the same place as Billy Joel. But a lot of us still cherish his music. He's one of my all-time favorite artists. So when this came out, seeing it was about over 5 hours long, you know what? I was still pretty damn excited. I watched it over 2 days, the 2 parts. Me and my wife just had an absolute blast with it. Found out plenty of stuff I didn't know about Billy Joel. Plenty of stuff about the meanings of some of his songs, like The Entertainer. That song now, for me, it used to just be a good Billy Joel song. Now that's a great Billy Joel song. Now that I know the meaning of it, him explaining why the line
was a beautiful song, but it ran too long. If you're gonna have a hit, you gotta make it fit, so they cut it down to 305.
Why that's actually in the song itself and how it pissed off people makes a lot of sense now, and actually makes the song 10 times better. And there's a lot of that in this docuseries. I think part 1 is still better than part 2 because the rising action is always a lot funner than the falling action. When you get into his alcoholism and all that, it's not as fun. He's talking about after he retires and getting into the classical music. It's just not as entertaining for us, the viewer. But it's not always about the viewer in this case. It's Billy Joel telling his story, like, through his lens, and then all the people around him, all the other talking heads, talking about their experiences with Billy Joel. If he wants to focus on that, we're there for that. We're there for that ride. The whole thing, though, works entirely. One of the best docuseries I've ever seen. Now, of course, like I said, maybe a little bit biased being from Long Island as well and growing up with his music. But I still think it was very well constructed, very well put together. If you're a fan of Billy Joel, you absolutely owe it to yourself to check this one out. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. So definitely check it out. It's on HBO Max, which is HBO Max again for the second time. So check this one out. I can definitely recommend it. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it here for me on another episode of Let's Talk. Let me know what you thought of this video. Do you like these new movie reviews? Do you think, just stick to the physical media reviews. That's what you do best. Let me know in the comment section below. And while you guys are down there, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this video if you could. We also have channel memberships, guys. So if you want to become a friend of the channel, a producer for the channel like John Doe Juggalo, Harvey Scott, and Ben Rondo, you could do that. Or you can become a channel director like Uncle V, Stone Gasman, Frank from Frank's Media and Reviews, Nicholas Head, and Kevin Kruger. Or you can even bump it up to the channel bankroll member like Mr. Smelly Potato. But of course, guys, if you got no money to throw my way, don't worry about it all. I just hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, get out in those streets, tell your friends about us, and then we'll be seeing you around.